Hello students, you're welcome to another exciting mathematics class. Today we are going to be learning algebra. Okay, algebra in mathematics, you hear the word algebra. This is one of the most interesting topics we have in mathematics. You'll find it very interesting. And for you common entrance students, this is one topic that you always find in all your examinations. All private colleges, this is one topic that you cannot afford to miss. But I want to assure you that by the end of today's lesson, you'll be glad you watched it and you'll find it very interesting, and we're going to have a lot of examples to solve and assignments to be given. So today we are going to look at algebra. When you hear the word algebra, what normally comes to your mind? The fusion of letters and numbers in mathematics, where you have to begin to solve using letters and numbers. Most times these letters stand for unknown numbers, which you end up finding out how to solve for those unknown numbers. You always have something like this. In an algebraic equation, you have something like this: x plus 4 equal to 10. This is an example of a simple equation in algebra. You can see the fusion of letters and numbers, and you'll be asked to solve for the letter. First things first, we liken an algebraic equation. Because of this, you see the presence of this equality sign. This makes it an algebraic equation. That means there are two sides of it. We have the left-hand side and the right-hand side. Just as we have your right hand, the right-hand side, and the left-hand side. You could liken this to a weighing balance. Just like if you have a weighing balance, something like this. A weighing balance. This looks more like an equation. You'll find out that this is the right-hand side, which is 10, and the left-hand side, which is x plus 4. So on the weighing balance, we try to make sure that they are equal. X plus 4 equals to 10. So that is the same way we solve with an equation. We try to ensure that whatever we do to the left-hand side of the equation, we do to the right-hand side of the equation. That way we create a balance and we can solve for the answer. So that is that. This is basically all what we'll be solving throughout this topic. Anything involving algebra is a fusion of numbers and letters, and at the end, we end up solving for the letters. So there are preamble topics, simple things we need to know, because you don't just delve into algebra. There are certain things we must be familiar with, like addition and subtraction of signs. We have to know our multiplication of signs, because we'll be playing around with negative numbers in algebra. So it's very important you know how to add negative numbers. It's very important you know how to subtract negative numbers, multiply, divide, because algebra is no respecter of signs. You'll be playing around with negative numbers and you must get your answer correctly. Before then, we are going to be looking at like and unlike terms. When you say like and unlike terms, if you have something like this, x plus 4x, and you have something like 4a plus 3b, you realize that x plus 4x are like terms. Why? Because you can add them. You know, there's this family of x. You can see the presence of x here, and you see the presence of x here, which means they belong to the family. They look alike. They belong to the same family. That's what we call like terms. We'll term this to be like terms. And most times when you come across equations that have like terms, you can operate with them. That means you can either add them together, or you can subtract, or you can divide. So if you're going to add x plus 4x, you're going to get 5x. 5x. This simply means 1x. Of course, the x is just 1. So we don't repeat 1x. In algebra, we do not repeat it. It's already 1x. So we just call it x plus 4x and we get 5x. Now, the second equation says 4a plus 3b. Now, if you look at this equation, you find out that this is a and this is b. Two different letters. We cannot add them together. 4a and 3b, they are totally different from each other. This is a and b. They are two different letters. So this makes this equation to be unlike. They are unlike. They are different. So we cannot perform an operation, a mathematical operation with unlike terms. That is why when you have something like 4a plus 3b, it remains this way. We can't add. So we have no answer here. And why? Because this equation is simply unlike, an unlike term. It's in unlike terms. They are totally different. So it's good and important we know this differentiation so that when you hear things like we collect like terms, you're bringing families of x together, families of y together, and these are like terms and unlike terms. One other thing I would like you to note in the use in algebra is every number, like we have something like this, 100y, you can have something like this, 3p. This letter has a coefficient of 100. What is a coefficient? Is that number a whole number, or it could even be a fraction or an integer that comes before a letter? So 100 here is the coefficient of y. Three here is the what? Coefficient of p. So take note of this. These are terms we'll be making use of in the course of our learning of algebra. So it's very important you know what a coefficient of a number is, and it's very important you know what your like terms and your like terms are. Like terms are values, numbers, or letters belonging to the same family. They have similarities with them. Either they are the same letters or the same numbers. Now, unlike terms do not have any similarity. They are totally different, and you can't perform any operation, mathematical operation with them. That being said, we are going to move on to addition and subtraction of signs. Addition and subtraction of signs and numbers. Now, if you have something like this, for example, 2 plus 3, and you have something like this, for example, 5 minus 4, and you have something like this, minus 3 plus 1. In addition and subtraction of numbers and signs, there are certain tricks we must know and bear in mind. When you add, when you see the plus sign, it means this is what you have. And when you see the negative sign tells us that this is what you owe. So the plus sign here shows, remember there's an invisible plus sign in every number. Any number that doesn't have a plus sign before it, bear in mind that it carries an invisible plus sign. So you have here 2 plus 3 shows that I have 2 naira and I also have 3 naira. Adding them together gives us 5. So 5 minus 4, we have 5 naira because there's an invisible plus sign here. We have 5 naira and you are going to minus 4. You are owing 4 because a negative sign signifies what you owe. So You have 5 naira and you're owing 4 naira. What you're going to have left after giving out what you owe is 1. Minus 3 plus 1. What does this tell us? That we are owing 3 naira, and you have just 1 naira. I'm just using money as a means of explaining it, so it's easy for us to understand. So if you're owing 3 naira and you have 1 naira, so definitely you're going to give out the 1 naira you have. You're still going to be left with what? 2 naira. Another way of viewing this is you can use your number line. If you draw your number line, you're going to see how to add. But without the number line, it's always good for us to have some basic concepts. That a negative sign tells us that you owe, and a positive sign tells us what you have. So if what you owe is more than what you have, it means that if what you owe is more than what you have, it means your answer definitely is going to be what? Negative. So you're having minus 2 as your answer. This should be minus 2 as your answer. What does that tell us? You're owing 3, and if you give up the 1 you have, you're still going to be left with what? 2. You're still owing 2. So that's why your answer is what? Minus 2. We're going to solve more examples. If you have something like this, minus 11 plus 6, what does that tell us? You have 6 naira. This is what you have. And you're owing what? 11 naira. So if you give up the whole 6 naira that you have, you're still going to be left with what? 5 naira. That's why you're still going to be owing 5 naira. That's why your answer is negative, minus 5. So minus 11 plus 6 is minus 5. Usually once a negative number is bigger than the positive number, bear it in mind that you're going to be having a negative answer. Once the negative number is way bigger than your positive number, you'll be getting a negative result, a negative answer. Let me give another example. For example, if you have something like this, minus 15 plus 10. Minus 15 plus 10. This is a negative number bigger than this positive number. So definitely you're going to have a negative answer. Because if you have 10 naira and you're owing 15 naira, if you give out the whole 10 naira you have, you're still going to be owing. And then you simply minus 15 minus 10 gives you what? 5. The same thing too, if you have something like this, 3 minus 7. 3 minus 7. You can see the negative number is bigger than, you see that 3 carries an invisible plus sign. There's a sign 3 carries, it carries an invisible plus sign. Any whole number you see without a sign, bear it in mind that it carries an invisible plus sign. So it always carries a plus sign. Now it's not written, the plus sign is not written here because that's the beginning of the sentence or beginning of the equation. So it's assumed that you should know that there's an invisible plus sign here. So you see 3 minus 7, the negative number is bigger than the positive number. So therefore your answer will be negative. Of course, you're having minus 4. 3 minus 7, ordinarily you will say is impossible, but in algebra, you get a negative answer. So 3 minus 7 is equal to minus 4. One more example. Now we are now going to infuse in letters. Now if you have something like this, minus 4x plus 2x. Minus 4x plus 2x. Is a negative number. Can you see? A negative number is bigger than the positive number. So definitely you're going to have what? A negative answer. So you simply subtract. 4 minus 2 is 2. So you're having minus 2x. Remember that these are like terms. So we can easily get an answer to this because they are like terms. And that's why you should recognize from the beginning what like terms are and what unlike terms are. Now, if you have something like this, minus x plus, or rather, let me say minus p plus 4p. Minus p plus 4p. Now, look at it this time around. Our negative number is smaller. Our negative number is smaller than the positive. So what does that tell us? We are going to have a positive answer. A positive answer. So minus p plus 4p, you have 4 pencils. P for pencils. You have 4 pencils and you're owing someone 1 pencil. So if you give out the 1 pencil you have, you're going to be left with what? 3 pencils. 3p. So the answer here is plus 3p. Let me solve one more. You have something like this. Minus 2y plus 6y. Minus 2y plus 6y. Look at our negative number. It's way smaller than our positive. What does that tell us? That what we are owing, we have more than what we owe. Because positive number reflects what we have and our negative number tells us what we owe. So if you have 6y and you're owing 2y, definitely if you say 6 minus the 2y, because you're going to give out what you owe, you'll be left with what? 4y plus 4y. Usually we clean out the plus sign. We do not include the plus sign because it's assumed that you know that there's an invisible plus sign in front of these answers. So the last example we're going to look at before we close this, we're going to have something like this. 7v minus 13v. 7v minus 13v. Look at this very well. The negative number, what you owe, is way bigger than the positive. So if you're owing 13v, 13 vests, and you just have 7 vests, you're going to give out all the 7 you have, and you're still going to be owing. And that's why your answer will carry a negative sign. And then you'll be left with 6v. So this is the simplest way to understand negative numbers. So you should know at first hand, once you see a negative number represents what you owe, and a positive number represents what you have. So however it comes, once the signs are interchanged, always take a look at your negative number. Is it more than the positive? If your negative number is more than the positive number, definitely your final answer will be negative. But if it's the other way around, then your final answer will be positive. So we're going to move into the next one, which is multiplication and division of signs. As a rule in algebra, we know that minus times minus is equal to plus. Plus times plus is equal to plus. Minus times plus is equal to minus. And minus times plus times minus is equal to minus. So students, these are the fundamental rules. And it's the same thing with multiplication and division. You find out that they're actually the same rule. Minus divided by minus is equal to plus. Plus divided by plus is equal to plus. Minus divided by plus is equal to what? Minus. And plus divided by minus is equal to minus. So you find out that for multiplication and division of signs, you're getting the same result. Minus times minus is plus. So when you multiply two negative numbers, you're getting a positive answer. That's what it means. We're going to solve examples. So when you are multiplying two positive numbers, which is that's what we are used to doing, you're going to get a positive answer. When you multiply one negative number and one positive number, your final answer will be negative. And when you multiply one positive number and one negative number, your final answer will be negative. What is left for you students is to understand it the way it is. It's quite simple. Once you understand it this way, you won't have problem solving. So let's now fit it into letters and numbers. For example, let's start. If you have something like this, minus 8 times 4. Minus 8 times 4. Remember that this 4, what sign does it carry? It carries an invisible plus sign. Every whole number standing on its own carries an invisible plus sign. So this is assumed that there's an invisible plus sign here, which you know. So minus 8 times plus 4. First of all, you multiply the signs, then you multiply the numbers. Minus times plus is minus, and then 8 times 4 is 32. So that gives us minus 32 as our answer. So from today henceforth, you shouldn't be scared about multiplying signs. So in algebra, you're going to be solving different numbers. They come with different signs. So it's going to be flooded everywhere. I told you before that algebra is no respecter of signs. You are going to be working with addition, subtraction, invariably in any form and in any manner. So, but once you have known the laws, you can solve and get your answer correctly. Take note that in algebra, a wrong sign can give you a wrong answer. If your answer is meant to be plus 32 and you write minus 32, there are two different numbers. You have failed it. If your answer is meant to be minus 100 and you end up writing plus 100, you have failed the answer. So you have to be double sure and you have to know this very well. That's why I'm taking my time to explain this. These are the fundamentals before we delve into solving algebraic equation. Another example is we have something like this, minus 40 times minus 3. Look at this. Two negative numbers multiplying themselves. The first thing you do is you multiply the signs. Minus times minus. Look at it. Minus times minus is what? Is plus. So write plus. Then we multiply the number. 40 times 3 is what? 120. So minus 40 times minus 3 gives us plus 120. So, or you can simply write 120. You can clean the plus sign when you're done, because we already know that 120 carries a plus sign. Another example is if you have something like this, 4 divided by minus 2. 4 divided by minus 2. The first thing you do is to divide the signs, first of all. 4 here carries an invisible plus sign. So plus divided by minus is minus. Once you master the multiplication, the division is easy because they are actually the same thing. So plus divided by minus is minus, and then 4 divided by 2 is 2. So your answer becomes minus 2. Is that clear? Let's solve one more example. We have something like this. Minus 8 divided by minus 16. Minus 8 divided by minus 16. The first thing we do is to divide the signs first of all. Let's get the signs. Minus divided by minus is what? Plus. You can see it over here. Minus divided by minus is plus, which is the same thing with the multiplication. So this is where our answer is going to be a positive answer. Then we go straight to the numbers. 8 divided by 16. 8 divided by 16, which is 1 over 2. 8 goes here 1. 8 goes here 2. So we're having 1 over 2. And our final answer will be what? Plus 1 over 2 or half. Simply put it as half. And that's your answer. Now we are going to fuse in alphabets, letters. That's the main reason why we are solving algebra. Algebra is the fusion solving for letters in numbers. So we are going to fuse in letters now and we're going to solve. That's the way you see it in your books, in questions, in past examination questions. We are going to be solving things like this. 4x times minus 3. 3y. Four x times minus 3y. The first thing we are going to do is to multiply the signs. 4 is carrying a positive sign, an invisible positive sign. So plus times minus is what? Minus. We'll take it step by step. 4 times 3 is what? 12. X times y is what? XY. That brings me to this. I want you to pay attention to this. Let me digress a little. Do you know that x plus y, x times y, mean two different things? If you have something like this, x plus y, you cannot add unlike terms. In algebra, adding x plus y is impossible. There is no answer for this. Why? Because they are unlike terms. Unlike terms. But if you have to multiply this x times y, yes, you can multiply it and you're going to have x times y becomes xy. So let's take note of this. You can, in algebra, you cannot add or subtract unlike terms, but you can multiply unlike terms. And that brings me to this: 100 plus y is not the same thing as 100 times y. 100 plus y remains the same way it is. But 100 times y gives you 100y. Hello? We can't add 100 plus y because they are different. They are unlike. We can't have an answer to this. But if you have to multiply this 100 times y, you're getting 100y as your answer. So please just understand it this way and you won't have problem solving. Okay. Now we're going to go to the next example. You have something like this: 12x times minus 2x. What do we have as our answer? We'll take it step by step. There's an invisible plus sign here, which you already know. So plus times minus gives us what? Minus. 12 times 2 is what? 24. X times x is x squared, x raised to the power 2. So our answer becomes minus 24x raised to the power 2. You see the steps? I'll take one more example. If you have something like minus 7y times minus 7y again, let's solve it. Minus times minus is what? plus 7 times 7, 49, and y times y gives us y squared, or y raised to power 2. So the answer is 49y squared. Next one is, if you have something like this, (24) p squared divided by 3pq squared. You have to solve something like this. What do? So let's put it out in the numerator and denominator format. 24p squared divided by 3pq squared. Now let's put it in the expanded form. Let's expand it so it's easy to. You have 24 times p times p. P squared means p times p, divided by 3 times p times q times q. 3 goes here 1. 3 can divide here 8. 1p up here cancels 1p down here. So what are we left with? 8p up at the numerator all over what is left here? Q squared. And that's your answer. I'm going to be leaving you with this assignment. I want you to try this out. Try this. Number 1, minus 3b plus 7p. What's the answer? 4x minus 7y. Give us an answer. (17p times minus 3q and 48x squared divided by 12xy. Give us an answer. So I want you to try this out. For me, they are quite simple. And then give me the answer. You can put the answer right there in the comment section. I'll respond to it. So with this, we've been able to, this is just the first part of our lesson today. We've been able to look at the meaning of algebra, the right hand side and the left hand side of algebra. We've been able to cover up what like and unlike terms are. We know what the coefficient of a number is, of a letter is. We've talked about addition and subtraction of signs and numbers, and we've been able to cover multiplication and division of signs and numbers. So I want you to study this more and solve more questions on your own. If you have questions, you can put them right there in the comment section. I will try to answer them. So get ready for our next lesson. Our next lesson will be looking at simple equations, how to solve simple equations, algebraic expressions, and then we'll move over to open brackets. Thank you very much for listening to this lecture. I hope you understand it, and we'll see you in our next video. Thank you.